I met Roddy, and we just liked each other. He was well schooled in acting for films, but he had a born in him talent and a great, great ability to communicate with people.
How Green Was My Valley was a popular and critical triumph, winning 5 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. Its success made the 13-year-old Roddy McDowall a full-fledged movie star. In order to capitalize on the star's potential, Fox's press machine shifted into high gear, playing on the public's sympathy with fantastic stories of Roddy's exploits as a war waif.
The publicity department went to work, so there were all these publicity things, and suddenly we're going to premieres and parties. It was a whirlwind. There wasn't time to assimilate. It was all overwhelming, in a sense.
The studio became Roddy's new home. Every day, whether he was filming or not, he was on the lot shooting screen tests, giving interviews, and attending the famous Fox School under the tutelage of Shirley Temple's former teacher, Frances Clampt.
Of course, I had Roddy. He was started right there, and he was delightful. And he had worked in pictures in London before he came to the United States. And his personality was very vivacious, very outgoing.
Roddy was thrilled to be working alongside his film idols, and they were beguiled by the adorable boy who never failed to politely ask for their autographs.
Roddy was always an adult. He was a little boy, but he was a grown man in talent and appreciation of people, his ability to give friendship to people.
Fox wasted no time casting the precocious young actor in a series of starring roles, playing sweet, wistful children with a wisdom and maturity far beyond their years.
Come, it's late and we have a long road ahead of us.
No, we're not leaving. Going back to Breathe Home.
Ben, what are you saying?
He said I was a Blake in all but name. I'll show him. Take whatever he has to give me, and I'll mark it down. And someday when I am master of Breathe Home, I'll give it back. Can do with me as he pleases, but I'll never submit.
A year after arriving in America, 14-year-old Roddy McDowall had made a name for himself in Hollywood. But like so many child stars before him, he wondered if his success could survive his approaching adolescence.
Biography remembers...
1943, Roddy McDowall was cast in My Friend Flicka, the story of a sensitive young boy who tames a wild horse.
Flicka understands everything I say. What's more, she talks back to me. Maybe you don't know it, but horses got a language all their own. There's a neigh of terror, a scream of rage, a whinny of nervous impatience, a nicker of longing. Can you wiggle your ears? Oh.
Roddy loved the adventure of shooting in the Utah wilderness, but best of all was the surprise visit paid by his father, whose ship had docked on the California coast to pick up much-needed food and ammunition for Roddy's war-torn homeland. Back in Hollywood, Fox cashed in on Roddy's growing popularity at the box office when they loaned the teenager to MGM for another heartwarming family film entitled Lassie Come Home.
Lassie is the story of a dog and a boy. Oh, it isn't a pretentious picture or an epic. Lassie's story is a magnificent one. You'll love every bit of it.
It was on the set of Lassie Come Home that Roddy met another rising young star, the beautiful 10-year-old Elizabeth Taylor.
That was the spark of a lifelong friendship. They probably had a simpatico because they were both transplants. They both come here from England. They were both young actors trying to navigate those waters and at the same time deal with the normal trials and tribulations of growing up, but in this case growing up in the spotlight.
Though he was already a veteran of over 25 films, in 1944, the Motion Picture Herald proclaimed 15-year-old Roddy McDowall as their star of tomorrow. Now earning nearly $100,000 a year, Roddy was his family's principal breadwinner. But Winifred continued making most of his career decisions. She also managed Roddy's social life, encouraging him to entertain his young studio friends. Soon, parties at the McDowall's new Cheviot Hills home were a regular part of the Hollywood social scene.
Win would invite everybody. I don't think Roddy really ever invited anybody. And we would go on usually Sunday afternoon. We'd play badminton, and we'd dance, and then Win would fix a big dinner. It was wonderful, because none of us had swimming pools. Roddy was the only one that had a swimming pool. And we would all go and just really have a wonderful time.
The fact that we were all supposed to be very sophisticated and well-known, so therefore we must be leading these wonderful, glamorous social lives, is a total fiction. None of us had any place to go, and few of us had many friends. But Winifred and his mother created this atmosphere in their home. It was kind of the gathering place.
On September 2nd, 1945, Japan surrendered to the Allied forces. And after 5 long years, Second Officer Thomas McDowall came home for good to take his place as head of the family. It was a joyous reunion, and Roddy was proud that he could welcome his war-weary father home to such a glamorous and comfortable life. The teenage actor had continued to portray young boys in a string of highly acclaimed films, but Fox seemed reluctant to cast their juvenile star in more mature parts. And by 1946, the 17-year-old feared he would never move beyond children's roles. Roddy's hopes were raised when he was loaned out once again to MGM to star in his first adolescent film, Holiday in Mexico, opposite Jane Powell.
Here comes head waiter Stanley. Look old.
Do you wish a table?
Table for 2, please.
It was a good idea bringing you walking sticks.
I was considered Roddy my brother that I never had. It's not hard to like him, you know.
Encouraged by MGM's interest, Winifred engineered Roddy's release from his Fox contract, certain that any one of the major studios would jump at the chance to advance her son's career. But Winifred's gambit failed, and to the McDowalls' great dismay, no one wanted to add an awkward adolescent to their roster. After 6 secure years as a contract player, 18-year-old Roddy McDowall was facing an uncertain future for the first time. Determined not to meet the fate of so many child stars who had slipped into obscurity, Roddy took any acting job he was offered, from vaudeville to regional theater. And at 20, he won his first adult role opposite Orson Welles in the director's innovative production of Macbeth. The next year, McDowall was featured on an early television show entitled Hollywood on the Line, where he shared his interests and aspirations with the American public.
They're ringing Roddy now, so let's turn on the televiewer.
Okay, I'm ready now. What do you want to know?
We have a request from another viewer who asks, what kind of a hobby does a young movie star like you pursue?
Well, let me see. I don't quite know where to start. My mother's always threatened to throw me out of the house. I have so many hobbies. I have stuff crowded all over the house besides my own room. My main collection of books is in this corner here to do with the screen and also with the stage, this whole section here. The reason that I collect all these things on stage and screen is because I hope one day to be a director, and I'm very much interested in the past history of both my business and I like to learn about it.
Well, thank you, Roddy McDowall, and maybe we'll hear from you again soon, huh?
But decent roles were few and far between for the former child star, and he was soon reduced to working in low-budget B movies on Hollywood's Poverty Row.
The world's most dangerous game, hunting down man-eating sharks in their own storm-tossed blue domain.
We did 2 films together after World War II, 2 quite ghastly little films. One was called Tuna Clipper, and one was called Killer Shark.
And into this whirlpool of action and spectacular adventure plunges a college blue blood, Roddy McDowall.
Roddy, at that point, had the feeling that he didn't know how to act very well. And he expressed that view quite openly.